Hey, welcome back to the channel. And after going out and backpacking for over a decade, I think it's about 15 years now, there are definitely some items that I have brought with me backpacking that I really regret bringing with me out on the trail. Some of these regrets are things that were just too heavy. They might be too complicated to use out in the wilderness. They might have too long of a setup or teardown time, or they don't operate as they were sort of marketed to and they're a lot more complicated to use, or they just broke down and didn't work. Any of these things could really be one of the reasons that I didn't take this gear out again, or that I stopped, or that I regret taking these items out on the trail with me. So today I'm going to be talking about 3 items that I regret taking out on the trail with me, and the 3 items that I use to replace those items. So here we go, let's get into it. Regret number 1 is heavy hiking boots. So definitely a big one for me. My first backpacking trip, I think it was my senior year of high school, something right around that. I can't remember if it was the summer after it or the summer before it, just right around that area. So 2010, and I definitely bought into the sort of the whole thing of like, you want heavy leather or like heavy duty hiking boots. So what I brought out with me were actually like military style kind of boot camp combat boots. And that's what I wore for my first backpacking trip. Now, if you know anything about those types of boots and shoes, you realize that those are not the ones you actually want to be doing a bunch of mileage in and carrying gear with. Those are like the bare minimum of what you should be using or can use, but it's not what you would recommend to be using. So my first trip, I took those out and I never took them out again. And actually, I kind of just got rid of the whole idea of taking like heavy leather or sort of like faux leather boots out in general and heavy duty hiking boots, and I moved over to trail runners and started using those instead. So just to put sort of a nice kind of bullet point to this is some of the reasons I stopped using heavy hiking boots. The first one is that they are always really heavy and they are hot. They don't dry out very quickly when they get wet, and also a lot of times they even end up retaining moisture. The next thing is that they didn't have really good ankle support. They didn't really have good arch support. So they actually ended up hurting my feet by the end of the day, and they just weren't comfortable. What I ended up using instead were trail runners. And I think a lot of people have gone to trail runners now, which in my opinion is a really good choice, but you can do what you'd like. But the trail runners that I ended up going with, the brand that fit me well and works really well for me, are the Salomon brand. So I'll put that up on the kind of the screen here for you so you can see what I'm talking about. But I have used a couple different models of Salomon trail runners over the years, but the ones I'm currently using are the Salomon SenseRide 4. Those are now sort of out of service, and the new model has come out, which is the Salomon SenseRide 5. So I would look into those if you're interested. Now, the thing with shoes is it all has to do with fit. Sometimes there's wider shoes or narrower or like regular size shoes, and you have to sort of figure out what kind of fit you want for your own shoe. So if Salomon doesn't work for you as a brand, because mostly brands usually sort of have a style that they stick to. So if Salomon doesn't work for you, another one that you could look into would be Hoka, or another one would be Ultra. Ultra is a really good trail running brand as well. And you can also use Topo Adventure. So look into some of those brands and see if any of those work for you. Try them on, especially with shoes, with hiking shoes, trail runners, any of that stuff. I really recommend, if you can, trying them out in person, walking around in them, have a sales rep, someone who knows the product really well, work with you on the best shoe for you, because the shoe is one of the most important pieces of gear that you will wear out on the trail. So make sure you get the right one for you. A few of the reasons that I like trail runners is that they are much lighter weight, they're much more breathable, and you can get some trail runners or like trail runner kind of esque shoes that are much more lightweight that can be waterproof if you want. I do non-waterproof shoes because to me, I have stepped in puddles of water enough to know that I'm going to get my feet wet no matter what kind of shoe I wear, because the water will just go over the waterproofing. So I like to wear non-waterproof shoes because that way they dry out faster, my feet dry out faster, and they're a little bit more breathable. But it's up to you if you want to wear waterproof trail runners. You can do that too, obviously. But yeah, I would recommend the Salomon, Ultra. Cloud9 is a big brand that's coming out recently, but yeah, just look into some trail runners and I would recommend those for you. Regret number 2 is Nalgene water bottles. So it's kind of a unique or like specific one, but yeah, Nalgene water bottle is something I took out on the trail at least once, maybe a couple of times. And even the MSR MiniWorks EX water filter sort of has the bottom end of it catered to fitting a Nalgene style water bottle onto it because the mouth is so much larger. So outdoor brands also sort of cater to Nalgenes at times, but for me, I took out the Nalgene water bottle and it really just wasn't worth the weight that it brought for kind of the drinkability you got out of it. So I know this is kind of on me, but when I would drink out of the Nalgene, the wide mouth bottle, I'd end up sort of splashing water on myself a lot of times because I'm just trying to drink it quickly or whatever it is. So I decided to stop bringing Nalgene bottles for much lighter weight options. So one thing about the Nalgene that I will say is that they are really tough and durable. I've seen one that was literally run over by a delivery truck and it was all twisted up, but it was actually still completely able to retain water, and you can even screw a cap onto it. So they are really durable and they have that going for them. So there is a place for Nalgene water bottles, definitely. I really do enjoy them in some areas, but for me with backpacking, I would just rather go to some different options. So a few reasons that I specifically don't do Nalgenes is that they are really kind of bulky. They don't fit in the side pockets super well all the time. Backpacks, they also weigh quite a bit compared to better, lighter options. So I think they're like 6 ounces empty, which is just a lot for a water bottle. And in addition to that, Nalgene water bottles don't really fit well with some of the other water filters I use, like the Sawyer mini water filter. It doesn't screw on well because it has the wide mouth instead of the narrow mouth. So just one more reason that since I use Sawyer water filters most often, Nalgene water bottles aren't really built to be used with Sawyer filters specifically, so I kind of avoid them. What I use now instead are mostly Smart Water water bottles, usually the 1 liter option, so I get a whole liter water bottle. They have the cap that fits onto a Sawyer bottle better. They weigh, I think, 1.4 or 1.6 ounces empty instead of like 5 or 6 ounces empty, so you have a weight savings there. To me, they're easier to grab out of like your side pouch pockets, so for all those reasons, I enjoy going with Smart Water bottles. And then you can also take Platypus or like bladders, not bladders, but and then you can also, if you don't want to use Smart Water bottles, you can also take like rolling or folding water bottles that are even lighter, take up less space when they're empty, all that kind of stuff. So I've used like the Platypus ones that I've talked about in other videos. So I use kind of like different ones of those options instead of an Nalgene. Also, before we go any further, if you do find this video interesting, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out. And if you have any questions or comments down below of things that like you wish that you hadn't brought on your trip, your first trip, and you don't bring any longer, make sure to leave that down in the comments below. I'd love to see the items that you have regretted bringing on the trail over the years. Also, while talking about this, I will have affiliate links for some of these products down in the description down below. So if you're interested in purchasing any of the items I've talked about, feel free to click the link down in the description and purchase through that link. It costs you nothing extra to do so, but I get a little bit of a referral for referring you through that link. So thanks, I appreciate it. Now, regret number 3 is one that is probably going to create some controversy, and I actually kind of did a video on this thing before, and definitely there are some people that didn't like my opinion on it. So I'm just going to say out front here, with all of these items, these are items that I regret bringing on my backpacking trips. But if you bring any of these items out and you really enjoy them, or you need them, or you like them, absolutely, that's awesome. That's part of the great thing about backpacking, is there are 100 ways to go out and enjoy backpacking and use your own kit that works for you. So I just want to put that on the front end of this next one here because it's caused conversation in my comments before. So I just want to bring that up on the front end. But item number 3 is my hammock camping setup. So there you go. I hope I don't offend too many of you with that one. But my hammock camping setup, for me, I used it for years. I did it with my kayaking trips that I took down multiple river systems for like 5-day trips. I took it with me on a couple of backpacking trips. And at the end of the day, the hammock camping setup was just too difficult to get a good setup for myself. I was always sort of watching for, okay, where can I hang my hammock? Do I have trees that are far enough apart? I can bring whoopee slings that make it a lot easier to sort of adjust like the length of your ropes. You can bring those types of things. You can bring setups that are really comfortable and that work just as well as a tent. They cover you just as well. They can come with integrated rain flies and integrated, bug mesh and underquilts and top quilts, all that kind of stuff. You can definitely make a good hammock camping sleeping system. But for me, it just really wasn't worth it, and I regretted bringing my hammock setup almost every time. So what I have done instead is I bring my tent system, so I usually sleep in a tent now, but sometimes I will bring a homemade Dyneema hammock that I've made for myself that's a double wide. You can actually sleep in it sort of diagonally, so you can sleep flat in it. It weighs like less than a pound. It weighs like 9 ounces or something like that with a whoopee sling. So I will sometimes bring that with me as an extra thing that I get to like set up at camp while I'm backpacking. And I'm sleeping in my tent, but I'm using my hammock as just a place to lounge and relax. So sometimes I still bring a hammock, but I don't use it as my sleep system. So just to put some bullet points on this, some of the reasons I regretted bringing a hammock camping setup and why I no longer do. You have to make sure that you have trees or items, whatever it is, things that are spread perfectly apart enough that you can sling up your hammock, which to me was just an added stress of when I was going down the river in some cases, or hiking along a trail, always looking for spots where like, okay, do I think there's gonna be trees that I can set up in? whatever it was. So reason number one was it was just too difficult to always find the right spot to set up my hammock. Item number two was that it required me to bring an underquilt and sometimes a top quilt. So that's another one where you can have different methods to do this, absolutely. But for me, it required a couple of different quilts, or at least one quilt that I wouldn't normally bring with me. And it just wasn't worth it for me with the weight and the space and the cost of it and all that kind of stuff. Reason number three is that there were times that I would have this underdraft because my sleeping pad wasn't thick enough, or I would kind of slip out from under my sleeping pad, or it would slip out from under me. I don't know. So I feel like the underdraft, or I wouldn't be actually on my pad anymore. So I was like sleeping on just the hammock, which is the point of having a pad and all that stuff. So it just kind of became this whole game that I'd always wake up in an hour or two and have to readjust everything and hope that my hammock didn't lose tension enough so that I'm sleeping like a banana all of a sudden. It was just a mess. And the final reason is that at the end of the day, truly with hammock camping, and there are places for it, but with hammock camping, if you're above the tree line and there's nowhere to sling a hammock, you're sleeping on the ground, and that's just something I didn't want to have to deal with. What I use now to replace that system is a Big Agnes Fly Creek HVUL2. So that's my current 2-person lightweight backpacking tent. So I have that one. I have a couple other tents as well, but that one is the one that I use most often. I go out on the trail with most often. So I use a 2-person backpacking tent instead. It's a semi-freestanding double wall tent. I really enjoy it. I love it. I've used it on multiple trips. It's gotten beat up. I've had to patch it and keep it going, and I absolutely love it. And I haven't even gotten rid of it because I enjoy using it so much more than other sleep systems. So that's what I use instead. Some of the reasons I like that tent is it's quite lightweight. It's not ultralight, but it is lightweight. It's very easy to set up. It takes me just a couple minutes to set up the tent. It works well, and I can set it up anywhere. So just to say again, I do see the appeal in hammock camping. I really enjoyed it for years. And I also do sometimes still bring a hammock with me while I go backpacking to just lounge in, because I do love lounging in a hammock and I always bring it with me camping. But just for me, I didn't enjoy it as a sleep system. So that's why I regret bringing it. So not every piece of gear is for every backpacker, and definitely some, if not all of these items are going to be right for somebody else, and somebody else is going to really enjoy using them. Just for me personally, in my experience and through 15 years or so of backpacking, I've found that these are items that I have regretted bringing on the trail, and I don't bring them with me any longer. I hope you enjoyed the video, and once again, if you have a piece of gear that you regret bringing with you on the trail, I'd love to hear about it in the comments down below. So make sure to leave a comment there, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, bye.